Welcome back. The Suez Canal Economic Zone signed a contract with car investors to establish a logistics center in Ain Sokhna. And more, of course, about the achievements that took place in the Suez Canal Economic Zone. Today we have the pleasure to have with us Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics at Chance University. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning.
So first of all, I'd like to talk more about this agreement and more about its impact when it comes to the automotive industry in Egypt.
Actually, the economic zone in the area of Suez Canal actually has been a very important target for Egypt from more than 5 years. The strategic plan for this area is to become a very important area for attracting foreign direct investments. We have to use, and to benefit from the geographic area, the location, of linking both parts of the world. This is a very strategic location worldwide, and we need to benefit from the Suez Canal not only as a source of just linking by trade through the Suez Canal, but by increasing economic activities and investments. And since Egypt has declared such a strategy, we started to first of all try to plan for which activities, which economic activities we need in this area, and according to that, there was a reform in the port of Port Said, to be prepared for being a part of other 5 ports in this area. And part of this also was to link Egypt with Sinai, which means that we are talking about a very important geographic area full of resources. There are still a lot of resources regarding the agriculture sector, regarding the industrials, the information technology. And from here it comes the industrial sector. From here it comes the importance of benefiting of Egypt as having different economic agreement. Egypt is having a free trade area with African countries. This is the first part. Another one with Arab countries. We have also a partnership with European countries. So in order to benefit from all of this, Egypt can be a hub for all investment coming to benefit from this area. And I believe that the experience of last year proved that. And since that it's coming, this declaration regarding having in Suez Canal a logistic part of investments that is gathering the importation and exportation of car in order to be exported to different areas of related to this location. And I believe this investment is not only the most important investment, because we don't know, the investment is I think $400 million, so it's not such a large investment. We need more investment in transferring technology. We need investment, and this is what's happening nowadays. We have the Chinese investment. They are now producing fiberglass in El Sokhna. We have the Russian industrial zone. We have the Chinese industrial zone. Nowadays we are attracting American investment to come and to invest in this area. The European countries nowadays are looking for what are the most important investment, taking into consideration post-pandemic area. You know that the pandemic had affected seriously most countries of the world, and nowadays the world economy is trying to find how to address such a pandemic after injection of trillions of dollars in order to enhance the economic situation. So this area is becoming a very important, attractive area, but it needs from us more work actually to be done. It's not just by talking about the benefits of the location of this area, but it needs from us to be more precise towards what types of investment we need. What are the investments that are relative to our comparative advantage? How we prepare and enhance the environment for investment for investors coming, and try to address the problems and the obstacles that can face investors.
Doctor, talking about the automotive industry in particular, we talked about this because this can be a very huge industry, especially for the feeding industry and the many different parts that are going to be used under the umbrella of the automotive sector. How far can this also support and help to open the way for more feeding industry when it comes to the logistics?
Yes, when we talk about auto industry in Egypt, we have actually a very long history regarding to how extent this industry has been feasible and beneficial to the economy. And when we revise what happened, you are going to find that the auto actually industry has been a very important source, despite that it has helped to generate value added and find opportunities of job, but actually it didn't achieve, from my point of view, actually the goals that should be achieved compared to other successful experiences like South Korea. What South Korea has done after transferring the technology from Japan and then develop their own technology, and nowadays we have in Egypt actually factories of South Korean brand in in auto investment. The problem for Egypt is that we didn't manage to do that. What we are trying to do nowadays is to try to apply this for the electric cars. Why? Because for the coming period, the future is for electric cars. And from here it comes that we have conducted several researches regarding to how extent Egypt can have transfer technology and using Nashwa, we have in Egypt our scientific researchers and the universities, they have different inventions, quite important inventions regarding auto industry. And these innovations, they can support quite well the visibility of this industry. So what we have to think about, because this event about the investment coming in Suez Canal is just by importing and exporting, cars. It's not by, manufacturing cars. We have different activities, economic activities regarding manufacturing, regarding transfer of technology. And from my point of view, what we have to concentrate is, I actually conducted myself a research with a teamwork regarding electric car, and Egypt is having quite, a comparative advantage towards producing electric car. And nowadays we have done quite good regarding the public sector company. Now Nasr is going to produce an electric car, and from here it comes that you have to go as a visionary approach from the macro vision, what you want to do regarding auto industry, how to generate, like you mentioned, auto industry is quite important regarding feeding industries, regarding small industries. And from here it comes what types of small industries we have a comparative advantage. Egypt succeeded actually to export feeding industries to Germany, to be contemplating, some parts of the production of cars, but still it's not a visionary, holistic approach for having, a comparative, or for benefiting from the comparative advantage of Egypt. So from my point of view, we have to concentrate on the electric car, to find our comparative advantage, to develop our capabilities regarding R&D, and how we can manage to actually to participate in the inventions, the worldwide inventions regarding electric car. And from here it comes that you can increase your share in export, because nowadays the export to Egypt is only $28 billion. We are expecting and having a plan to increase this $28 billion into $100 billion. In order to do that, you have to go towards different industries, not only the ready-made clothes and the food industries and so on, but to the highly value-added industries like electronics, like cars, like all these types of industries. And actually Egypt can do that because we have the capabilities, but unfortunately we are not using such capabilities efficiently enough.
Right. To continue talking about this important issue, just allow me to move into a short break, then we'll be back. Welcome back. Doctor, talking about, we talked of course about the automotive industry and the achievements in this respect. But if I'm talking about a general look at Egyptian economic status right now, and how far or where are we right now? According to all of the international reports, actually Egypt is achieving a lot, and talking about the GDP and keeping its strong position regardless of all challenges in the region. So from your own point of view, tell me more about where are we right now?
Actually, we have a very important report from the IMF evaluating the economic situation in Egypt. And I believe this is a very important report. Why? Because we still have a cooperation with IMF. We don't need another agreement with IMF to take, more injections, but still we need their technical support in order to discuss what we are doing, to how extent we are doing well, and so on. And from here it comes the importance of this report. This report was talking about, what rate of growth Egypt has achieved during the year of pandemic. We managed to achieve this year 2.8% rate of growth, which is quite important. Why? Because it's positive, compared to other countries of the world that achieved a negative rate of growth. So this is the first part. The second part is what we are expecting for this year, 2021, 2022. We are expecting to achieve a rate of growth about 5%. And this is not bad, because we are doubling this rate of growth that happens this year. And this is the expectation for the Egyptian economy, which proves that we have a lot of capabilities, unexploited resources that we enabling Egypt to achieve a very high percentage of growth if we concentrate on the most important challenges confronting the Egyptian economy. Besides that, what happened during our debt towards GDP has decreased from 100% into 90%, which is we are trying to achieve more macroeconomic stability on the macroeconomic level, because you cannot achieve economic development without macroeconomic stability. So addressing that is quite important. Beside other thing is what are the sources of our foreign exchange currencies. If we revise our sources of foreign exchange currencies, we can see that we are expecting to increase the injection coming, or the inflows coming from tourism. We achieved 4.4 billion during the pandemic, but nowadays we are expecting to double this figure into more than $8 billion for this year, the year we are talking about, which is quite important. Another thing is workers' remittances keeping its pace. We still have approximately $30 billion, so this is a very important source. We still have foreign indirect investment, and fortunately, yesterday the Federal Reserve kept the interest rate for dollar to zero, talking about that still the American economy is needing more pace for rebounding from the pandemic. And from here, this is quite important for Egypt. Why? Because if the difference between interest rate, Egyptian interest rate and other interest rate is going to be reduced, this is going to affect the foreign indirect investment. So we can expect foreign indirect investment to keep having, incentive to come and invest in Egypt. As I have just mentioned regarding our export, we are striving to increase our export, despite that we still need priorities to be addressed properly, such as addressing, corruption, bureaucracy. The private sector needs more pace to work, without harsh competition. The small industries need to be actually having a visionary approach towards which industries we need to enhance the role of the small industry. So a lot of work should be done in order to accelerate the competitiveness of our industries. We have several industries that we have a comparative advantage, actually, like the food industry. The food industry, our export of food industry this year increased by 32%, which is quite important. Our ready-made clothes, still we are exporting with $3 billion. This is quite minimal compared to our, capabilities to do that. So a report has been, launched, lately, mentioning that small industries are suffering after the pandemic. Most of them are ready-made clothes. So if we address these problems properly, I believe this can be reflected quite positively on the capability of small industries to export. And here it comes, these are priorities that we have to concentrate on. And if we do it properly, I believe this will be reflected quite well on the figure of export. So we have capabilities that are not used. The capability of the public sector. Nowadays we have a very important trend towards enhancing PPP, private-public partnership, and this is a very important source of accelerating value added and increasing production. So we have to work towards, strengthening this cooperation so that we can increase GDP growth.
Doctor, talking about the small industries actually, and especially during this period of time, as you mentioned, still we have, of course, potentialities, and we have many sectors that we can work more on. So tell me, how can we work more, and is it only related to human capital or the efficiency of what they are doing, or just also the funding, reaching
we don't have
international markets?
Nashwa, of funding, fortunately Egypt
we achieved this.
Egypt is having a very strong financial sector. Our banking sector, we have a very strong financial sector, thanks God. Our problem is regarding building human capabilities. When I am a professor in university, I know quite well what I'm talking about, because this was my interest from 20 years ago in my faculty, to upgrade the skills of my students, to link them with the opportunities in the labor market. Still, we have a big challenges when we talk about, the labor for industries. The productivity of our labor is still very minimal because of technical education, because of our educational system. So we need for that to have a very short period priority for a strategy for training for employment, training for recruitment, linking training with the needs in the labor market, and using efficiently all our training centers. We have training centers in all ministries. On top of them, the Ministry of Manpower. Nowadays they are trying to modernize such training centers. They are working quite hard to do that. but still how to attract youth to come and to know that for them it's better to have a career instead of being in the streets, having different other informal activities that they can have some money from them in the short period, but unfortunately in the long-term periods they don't have any future, you know, because they are still in the streets, either working in tuk-tuk or so on. So the awareness for youth is becoming essentially a priority for Egypt towards attracting youth towards what are the, you know, opportunities of jobs that they can create for them a better quality of life. And nowadays you have a very important opportunity of the mega project of reforming the Egyptian villages that President Sisi is dedicating more than 700 billion Egyptian pound towards achieving such a very important project. I believe this is a very important opportunity to try to categorize youth and to direct them towards the good opportunities of job, and then to train them to upgrade their skills, because we cannot achieve you know, the competitiveness of our industry. We cannot achieve the small industries that we are looking for, entrepreneurship and so on, without, you know, directing youth to the right sources.
I think also this initiative is very, very important. We used to talk about it a lot, especially when it comes to this important part. It's not only about infrastructure, but also people who are going to move into the new place.
Yes.
Definitely they must be ready to their new life, and their children, even the kids, the youth, they must be prepared and trained according
and, you know,
to the needs of each area.
Yes, and how to be prepared is not just by you know, we have, Nashwa, different experiences before during the last 30 years trying to address poverty, and just by giving poor services and money and so on. Our experience, you know, mentioned a very important fact, like we mentioned, is that you have to build human beings with, you know,
the infrastructure.
And I believe, from my point of view, that if building human capital first and then infrastructure, I believe this could have a better results. Why? Because when you build infrastructure and this and then way towards building human capital and human resources, they are not going to use it, you know, in the right direction. And this is meaning for us as economists, that you are putting a lot of money without having the real results from it.
Right, Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics at Shams University. Of course, always a pleasure having you with us on the show. Right, moving on to a quick break, then we'll be back with more on The Breakfast Show.